Okay, going live soon. It takes a few seconds to.
No, no, it's all good. I get it.
Yeah. Okay, going live. There we go. All right, let me send the link to the students so they can join. They'll be joining on YouTube.
Okay. Will I be
Uh,
able to see them?
no. Would you like them to join Zoom instead?
No, whatever's easier. If I can't see, that's fine.
Okay. Um, Actually, let me check real quick. Hey Giovanni, do you think it'd be better to just have the students join the Zoom instead? What do you think? Okay, in that case, I'll send you the Zoom link. They can join directly there.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, Giovanni, I just sent it to you. So if you post on Discord, they can join Zoom. And then Ashley, I guess let's wait a couple minutes for students to get on. And then same thing, it'll still be on YouTube. So anyone
No
who's
worries.
late
That
or
sounds
missed it
great.
can watch it.
Okay.
By the way, that's a nice staircase.
We just moved. I think I told you, my partner, I just moved here from DC.
Yeah.
So it's pretty empty, just the couch right now. But we really love this house. It's so nice.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think the nice thing once you move into the place, you have so much space, you can do so much with it. You can add
Yeah,
furniture however you want, you can rearrange it.
right. We've never had, DC is unless you have millions of dollars, where you're staying is pretty limited in terms of space. So I'm like, I don't know what to do with all of this. And this is just one floor. I'm like, good gracious, how do people live like this?
Yeah. Well, so you have two floors, right?
We
Or
have
do you have one?
three.
Oh, wow.
So the
Okay.
top floor is like it's like kind of a loft style, it's like a bedroom kind of. And then
Okay.
this is like the living room, kitchen area. And the first floor is like a hallway thing, but like office kind of space.
All right.
Yeah, it's a beautiful home. Like,
Yeah.
wow. I can't believe like what did I do to deserve this? That's how I feel.
No, I know what you mean. It's one of those things, you see it and you're just like, whoa, that's amazing.
Yes,
And obviously part of, working hard to make it happen. So
totally.
yeah, that's life. All right, so Giovanni's just joining.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so Giovanni, do you think we should get started now or wait for anyone else?
I think it's a good time to start. I think
Okay,
that'll trickle in since it's getting recorded as well.
sounds good. All right, well, I guess Ashley, welcome. Thank you for coming and joining us as a speaker for HackTSU 2023. This is the official collegiate hackathon for Texas Southern University, the HBCU in Houston, also the second largest in the nation.
All right.
All right. So I guess let's go and get started. So why don't you introduce yourself, a couple of things like where you're from, what do you do, what do you like as a person?
Whoa. So, hi, everybody. I'm Ashley. First of all, I want to thank you guys. Thank you so much, Scotty. Thank you, Giovanni, for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you guys. I'm super, super excited. But my name is Ashley Copeland. I'm a proud Duke grad, Duke forever, forever Duke. We won. Fabulous. Let's go. Let's go. But I'm a proud Duke graduate. And I recently relocated to Houston, Texas by way of Washington, D.C., although I'm originally from North Carolina. So I've been in like three major areas so far in my life, which has been really cool to see all the differences. I currently work for AWS, Amazon Web Services. I work in the marketing department, particularly with the federal government, or excuse me, with the state and local government. So essentially, my job is business to business, and I connect people, businesses, entities, government with cloud computing services. And the way I got there essentially was through my work in government. When I moved to Washington, D.C., I used to work for the United States Senate. I worked as a staff assistant. So a lot of my experience in government is actually the reason why I got into a career in tech.
All right. Thank you for that. So, was there any one specific thing that got you interested in tech, or was it always something that you just gravitated towards?
Yeah. So it's really funny. I'm not sure how many of you guys are really deep into the tech space, like engineering, computer science, like more so of the nit grit part. But I actually have no tech experience prior, and I kind of stumbled upon this opportunity. So, and I want to tell you that because I think when a lot of people think of working in tech, it's you have to be particularly skilled, but technology has so many different components to it that isn't just in the traditional computer science or engineering workspace. Because like I said, for me, I work particularly in marketing. And the way I got the job was literally going online, looking at spaces. I do have a background in, like I said, government. Following my career in government, I did work for a marketing agency. So if you ever heard of the tagline, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas," my company I worked for actually came up with that tagline, and we had a branch in DC. So we did a lot of marketing for DC tourism, particularly, and actually some in the Bahamas as well. So that's where my marketing background came in. And I'm looking at marketing jobs, and I found an opportunity at AWS. I'm like, really? Me working for technology? And I did the rounds of interviews, and I got the job at the position. And I've been there for about 2 years now as a result. So I will be honest, technology wasn't something that I thought I would be into. But for me, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I stumbled upon it. It worked and aligned with a lot of my background, my non-tech background.
All right. And what are some skills you've realized that you can bring into the tech space?
Yes. So some of the skills I think that what Amazon, what AWS is looking for, they really want a well-rounded candidate. That's what my biggest takeaway from it. Are you able to do the work? Do you have the skill set? And if you don't, it is teachable. They are going to teach you, you'll learn. And are you a good fit for the team that you're going to be with? At least for these big tech companies, Tesla, Google, Facebook, Netflix, the FANGs, not including Tesla, they call it. It's very, very competitive. And it's generally a pretty long and strenuous interview. But what they're looking for really is, are you able to do the work? Are you able to commit? But are you going to be a good fit for the team? These companies are very, very, very big. And because they're so big, they turn them into little teeny tiny little communities. So even though I work for a very, very, very big company, I do feel like I work for a kind of a startup-y kind of team. So what they were looking for me was a background in marketing. Am I able to be well communicative? Do I work well with people? And am I able to generate sales? That's a big component too. Are you able to deliver results? So if you're able to do those things, then you'll be hired for the most part. For the most part, you got to interview well. And I could definitely talk more about the interview process too, if that's what you guys want to hear about.
Yeah, that actually would be useful for students, especially, tech hiring's been
Yes,
unusual compared to, because most industries, they go through hiring freezes, but tech
exactly.
actually unusually is going through that. So
Right.
for
It's true.
graduating seniors or juniors who are trying to find internships, what are some tips you have for them?
Of course. So first, is everyone like strongly into like the technology space? Is that correct? There's no people that may be considering another career? I just want to make sure.
Uh, yeah, Giovanni, Omo, are you two, or do you know anyone else who may be considering other careers?
Yeah, I'm kind of tottering in between tech and the public sector.
Okay.
I kind of want to start my career in the private sector, but I kind of want to leverage technology more than be in the technology industry.
Okay. So we're all like this is like an HBCU. So here's the first thing that I'm going to tell you before I get into tips. I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend getting into a career in tech. Strongly. If you're interested, even if you don't think that your skill set aligns with what Facebook, with analysis, whatever, even if you don't think so, I highly recommend that you start in tech. And here's the reason why. Technology obviously is growing. It's a very, very fast growing sector. They're always looking for people. They're always going to be hiring, and their compensation is very, 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 very good. Now, when I first started, I come from a small town, poor family. Like, we had government assistance at some point. And one of my biggest incentives for going to college and graduating was to be able to take care of my family. That was a big reason. I worked in the public sector because I thought that working for government would be a way to touch people and help. And it does to an extent. But I've noticed that there's a lot of old boys there. Like, there's a lot of people who knew people from local government or politics, and the compensation is extremely low. My starting salary was $32,000, living in one of the most expensive cities in the country, just for context. And a lot of my counterparts who work there were able to work there because their parents were giving them money each month to live. If you don't come from that type of situation, it's going to be really hard for you to get the financial independence that you need to take care of yourself and take care of your family. I had to work another job in order to sustain my time on the Hill, just for reference. So if you are teetering, I do recommend a career in technology, because there is going to be a public sector space for you. I work in public sector, technically. What I do aligns, I work with state and local governments, marketing cloud services. So I see that the work that I'm able to do. One time, I think we got a database, which sounds kind of boring, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. It sounds like, oh, but this database allowed a healthcare startup entity to better connect with their clients. You know, the work that I do allows people to better and analyze the data of their students at a public school, to better assess the type of needs that they might need because of the work that I do. So you're able to still make an impact, get compensated the way that I believe you should be, and still find fulfillment in your work if you go that route. And I do recommend that, because it allows your pay trajectory to continue to be exponentially larger as you continue in your career. If you're starting out at $32,000, by the time you're 30, you think that $80,000 is a great cap. Whereas if you're starting at $80,000 a year at 22, by the time you're 30, you'll be earning, $150 without any additional education. That's something that I really strongly recommend people to consider when they're looking at careers in general. Whatever you do will align. So I just want to make that big point. When it comes to interviewing, these jobs are like they feel impossible to get into sometimes, because the interview process is very, very strenuous. So I know I can speak specifically for Amazon, and I know that a lot of these other companies, I know Google and Facebook are similar, but they do have like a 3-round interview process. The first is to vet you. They're going to ask you general questions about your resume. If you're interviewing, and generally with resumes too, add as many numbers as possible. What people want to see is your process. So how did you start, and then where did you go? So if you're doing something if you're involved in something in college, if you're in a club or organization, how many people are in your club? What are some of the statistical impact that you've had? Maybe you had an event. What % of the people went to your event? What was the result of your event? How many people got what they needed to get out of that? If you can add numbers and percentages and are able to explain, this is what I did, this is the process that I got, and these are the results that I had, then these companies are going to be looking at you, period. They want to see numbers. If you guys can add as many numbers as possible to your resume, I can't emphasize that enough. So they're going to be looking at that in your resume and asking questions about your about these numbers. So tell me a little bit about this organization. I see that 20% of them are African American. Well, you help people get jobs. What % of those African Americans were able to matriculate here? They're going to be asking you questions like that. And so forth. So you want to make sure that you have things prepared for that. And then you want to make sure that your resume, again, just has as much statistical data as possible. If you pass that, then you have something called oh my gosh, I don't even remember. Yeah, honestly, I don't even remember the name. It's like a round kind of robin type of thing, the rounds. I didn't do that because I got hired during the pandemic, but they're going to fly you to wherever the headquarters are. And you're going to be meeting with like 5 people in a room and they're going to be asking you rapid fire questions. You got to be ready. There's a lot of resources available online that will help you with that part of the process. But it's, you got to be prepared. There's resources. It's not hard. You just have to mentally prepare for it and practice with someone. There's 32 questions that Amazon will likely ask you. So I wrote each question, and it's, again, available online, y'all. I wrote down each question that they asked me, that they would ask, wrote the scenario so that when they asked it, I was ready for an answer. And they did ask the questions that were listed. So I had an answer for each one. If you get past that, that's honestly the hardest one. The last interview really is a welcome to Amazon or welcome to wherever company you want to be at, compensation, as well as start date. It's that one's gonna be a little bit lighter. But if you get past the second interview, for the most part, you're like 90% hired. So that's what the process was like. It does sound strenuous. It took about 3 weeks. They really were looking for people. They really wanted to hire and build a team. It can take up to a month. But if you're to do that, you'll definitely increase your chances of getting hired for the company and negotiate your salary. I don't care if you're 22. I don't care if you're 12. If they're offering you something, you need to ask at least a 20% increase, at least. They will say no, potentially, but they'll probably meet you in the middle. Don't think just because you graduated, don't think just because of whatever. These companies have a lot of money, y'all. Jeff Bezos is a triple billionaire. A little 20K, a little 100K is nothing to this man, y'all. It's a little tissue paper for him. Think about that when you're asking for what your compensation looks like, because they have the money to spend.
All right. So Giovanni did ask, how did you leverage your experience from DC in your role today? So before that, let's go and just clarify a couple of things. So when you're saying add numbers in your resume,
yeah.
I think one thing some students might be wondering is, might not have good numbers because my club only has 2 people, or maybe, we didn't grow because of the pandemic or whatever.
Okay.
What would you say to students who are looking at the numbers on the resume or the numbers they want to add and they feel like their numbers are bad?
That's a great question. So what Amazon particularly looking for is your numbers will tell a story, right? They tell a story. It's not necessarily, your impact doesn't have to be what you wanted it to be, but you have to be able to explain why. So let's say that, really great example, right? Like, I didn't get to grow because of the pandemic. Well, you can say that there was actually a decrease from 100% participation to 50% participation because of the pandemic, but maybe other clubs had 10%. So you're still great compared to everyone else. Maybe there's 2 people in your club. Well, what's participation rate? 100%? Yeah, because 2 people show up. If 2 people come and there's 2 people in the club, that math adds up to 100% of participation. That's great. You have to make sure you all, like, when it comes to resume writing and resume building in general, you have to make yourself look amazing, because you are. It's really just a piece of paper that these people have to look at you, which is really tough. Exactly. Make lemonade, and not even, make Simply. Okay. We're making Simply lemonade. We're not making that nasty. Some of this lemonade is dry, yuck. We're making the good stuff. And you have to be able to share that. The resume really is just a way for people to pay attention to you. Once they meet you in person, that's when you really sell yourself. But you really just want that paper to just be like, just pick me, and I'll show you why. So if your numbers aren't great, if you can tell a story as to why, that's fine. But also, maybe there's something else that you've done, right? Another component. Maybe it's your grades that are great, that are better, or maybe the other impacts that you have, y'all. You're in school for a reason. You've done a lot in the 4 years that you were there. There's no reason why you can't have one sheet of paper highlighting the best parts about your professional and academic career.
All right. And then before we move on to Giovanni's question, I think the day you're talking about, the round robin thing, that's Super Day, right?
Yeah. So yes, there's different names. Yep, there's different names for different companies. Yeah. I think ours, again, maybe it was rounds, maybe it is. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't have one because of the pandemic. It was like, I think it was a day, and I interviewed maybe 4 different people. but it wasn't as intensive as it was, I think, prior. And I still think they're adhering to some of that from the pandemic too.
Okay. Yeah, and because I think I have also heard roundtable as another term. I think it
Yeah,
just
maybe
depends.
it's
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like anyone who's thinking those aren't the names I know, but if you're thinking, oh, there's a panel of 4 to 5 people, kind of rapid fire questions. We're talking about the same thing, just
right.
different names, different companies. So okay, Giovanni, appreciate your patience. So Ashley, Giovanni wants to ask, how did you leverage your experiences from DC in your role today?
Totally. Okay. So again, when I first started a long time ago, 10 years ago, my goal was to make impact through grassroots organizing, through government, through that. So I ended up getting a job in the US Senate because of that. So that's where my career really is mostly like 50% in the public sector at this point. And because of my interest in federal government in general, is how I found this role, particularly with Amazon, with AWS. They needed people who had experience in government. They wanted people who had experience in marketing. I have both for a tech company. So really what leveraged it was my experience working in government. And that's what I'm saying, y'all. I'm going to say this again. One more time for the people in the back. If y'all didn't hear the first part, please, you guys, whatever it is you want to do, like the impact you want to make in your life, you can do it in the tech space. And I can't emphasize that enough. There are educators who work for AWS, who work for Amazon, teachers, people who have an education background are now working there. There are people who have a creative background and are working there. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this enough is particularly when you're first starting out, you really want your earning potential to be as high as possible. You really do. You want it to be as high as possible. So if you can find something that aligns with that in a space that is going to automatically compensate you very well for something that you're passionate about, then that's great. For those who may be interested in business or entrepreneurship or something startup-y, there's a lot of spaces within AWS that does focus solely on startup entrepreneurship type companies. And they have that startup-y kind of energy, like small teams, new teams. It's just through the AWS lens. Amazon's an extremely large company. I think they have almost 1 million employees worldwide, I think about 700,000. So just to wrap your brain around that, you all, there's going to be something for you, no matter what your background and your analytical skills are.
All right. So, considering where you are now, where you've come from, what would you like to do over the next few years?
Yeah. So for me, and again, this is why I'm emphasizing this, you all, technology has been a big launching pad for what I want to do. I've been able to save a lot of money because I actually teach people how to purchase homes in 9 months. So I do that. But working for Amazon has helped me save the money and get the leverage that I need to meet with investors, to talk to people, to buy. I actually bought another property last year because of working for Amazon. So for me, this is a great launching pad for my career that I want to do in entrepreneurship and real estate and investing. So that's why it's just been a really good transition for me. And that's where I see myself in 5 years having my own business.
All right. Yeah. And then before this talk, me and Ashley had chatted a bit, and Ashley mentioned growing up, I think you said it was a deer stand. You would climb up there and just read.
Oh, yes.
And there was a tree outside. I would just climb up to the top. It was maybe 20, 25 feet up, I guess. But yeah, so for both of us kind of coming from, or I guess in your case, country, for me, hillbilly, a little bit of, being out in the wild a little, and just kind of, this and that. And for you to now be, well, first look at that nice staircase behind you.
Oh, yeah.
But then, like you said, you purchase another property, and in 5 years you want to launch your own business. I think that's a great testament to anyone seeing you can come from anywhere, country background, a hillbilly background,
Yep.
and still get to where you want to be. And there's a lot of paths, but tech, like you said, is one of the best paths to say, hey, you might not need to be super smart like going to med school,
Right.
If you just work hard, use the right numbers on your resume, and then interview well, which you can just practice, you practice
Exactly.
better, then yeah, you could be making that same amount of money. Obviously, not saying Ashley wasn't that, because Ashley went to Duke, so clearly you're really smart, you worked hard, but but at least for someone who's like, oh, I don't have those advantages. Yes, you do. You
Yes,
just have to use different advantages. Like Ashley said, look, your student club, maybe your high school has 10 people, your student club has 2. Well, if you're getting 100% participation rate,
talk about
that's
that.
pretty impressive. If I
Right.
have a high school of 4,000, or let's see, mine was 2,000, and let's say we have a club of 30 people and we're only getting 2 people. Well, I'm getting the same number as you, but you're getting better participation rates.
Exactly. And that's what y'all want to focus on. And yes, just to piggyback what Scotty said, y'all, it's so true. Do not let where you come from, do not let allegedly what you don't have, what you don't do, don't compare, don't do that to the point where it's debilitating yourself and what your abilities are. I'm not saying to do something just for the money. Of course, I'm not saying that. But what I am telling you is that you are able to package yourself, your resume, what you offer to any company in a way where they're going to be salivating for you. It doesn't matter, like you said, where you come from, what your major is, make them want you. I don't know if people remember like Legally Blonde. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that. One of my favorite movies. And Elle Woods, I feel like, was in many ways that person, very underestimated, came from this little kind of blonde, ditzy, poor little rich girl background. And she packaged herself in a way and worked hard in a way for Harvard to accept her. I know it's a movie, but it is a metaphor for so many of us in different ways. You have to just package yourself to make them want you. And once you're in there, shuck and jive and make it work. And you will. And you'll be very, very successful.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. I think it's also important to point out, even though Legally Blonde is a movie, a lot of these stories are based on things that happen in real life.
Yes.
For example, recently the movie The Woman King, you can read the history and see what was accurate or not, but it really happened. We have all these movies about things in history, even say superheroes, they're based on Greek mythology or other mythologies. And a lot of times it might have been some person who did something awesome and got exaggerated over time. Even Space Jam was based on Michael Jordan. So, or I guess the first one, and the second one's based on LeBron James. But even then, Kyrie Irving has Uncle Drew. Kevin Durant had his movie, and Ray Allen had it was Jesus Shuttlesworth. I'm blanking on he got game, I think.
Shaq had Kablam. Kazam.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and these are all great examples of, you have exaggerated sports stories based on an actual person's experience. And of course, over time, we'll end up with very, very exaggerated versions that become mythology. But that's the point. Legally Blonde is a movie, but it's based on girls coming out of college who showed these grad schools, I'm more than what you think.
Right. And that's all you have to do, you guys. Like, that's what you need to do. Don't let any of this intimidate you. No, it's all smoke and mirrors too. In the best way possible, in the best way.
Yeah. And anyone who's thinking, oh yeah, but it's hard to get to that point in life. Just remember, you're in college, maybe you're in grad school, maybe you're in high school, but wherever you are, every journey in your life, you just start taking steps, and over time you get to where you are. It's just like, you look at where you were first grade, where you are now, right? I look at myself before the pandemic and think, did I even know anything back then? I look at myself at Duke and think, why didn't I do more with my life? I look at myself in high school, it's like, man, I wasted a lot of time. But a lot of that was doing different things, exploring, finding out what I like, growing, and then honing in on specific things that I then think, okay, it's like Giovanni said, how do you leverage your experiences from DC in your role today? Well, Ashley, I'm sure you had a lot of experiences that you don't leverage now. It's just that you discovered what you want to use, what you need to use, and now you do that. And the rest of it is more, oh, here's a story, here's a memory, right?
Exactly. Well, Scott, you're just reading to my soul today. Yeah, y'all.
It helps that we went to the same school.
We did indeed. Yes. It y'all, verbatim what he said. Yep. you're gonna have so much life to live. And like you said, it's the highlights or the parts that you remember, or that's what you're gonna keep using to utilize and make your career or anything you want your life work for you. Absolutely.
All right. So I guess Giovanni, Omo, any questions? Anyone questions on YouTube? Type into the live chat if you want.
And chatting to the live chat, y'all.
I'll give them a bit of time to type. All right. Well, I guess we might be done with questions for now. So Ashley, thank you so much for showing up.
Pleasure's truly
I'm
all
sure,
mine.
yeah, I'm sure, this is great for all the students, and then the students who are showing up late or need to watch later, we'll show them, we'll send them the YouTube link. And I guess if anyone has additional questions for you after this talk, is there a way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will put this in the chat so that you guys can remember. This is my email, stacksinthecity@gmail.com. And I don't know, you guys, I'm getting old, but I'm still fabulous. But for the Instagrammers out there, that's my IG, and that's also my TikTok as well.
All right. So Instagram and TikTok. And for anyone who's listening saying, oh, I can't see the chat, that's okay. We'll post this in the video description down below. If you're watching from YouTube, if you're on Zoom, I'm not sure why you're not seeing the chat, but it'll be in the YouTube video description. So anyone, feel free to reach out to Ashley in these ways. And if you feel like there's anything else you can learn, feel free to reach out.
Please
And
do.
other than that, yeah, thank you so much, Ashley. Hopefully you can make it to the Duke basketball game watch party in a bit. But yeah, we appreciate having you here.
Oh, thank you, y'all. And thank you so much for inviting me. I really, really, really appreciate talking to y'all.
All right. Take it easy, everyone.
All
Good
right.
luck with the rest of the hackathon. Ashley, we'll see you around.
We'll see you later. Bye, y'all.